Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for tuning in. Eric H526, Luke St. Martin, two best moderators in all of YouTube. Thank you so much. Now, this is a very interesting discussion, and we know that the Durham probe is a special counsel. So this is a fact. Everyone acknowledges this fact, okay? We know that the special counsel, just like Robert Mueller's special counsel, cannot be interfered with by the Justice Department. We know that John Durham has already put away people, high-level officials in prison. In Boston, he did this. Okay. I'm not telling you to trust anyone. I'm not telling you to trust. I'm actually citing an article when I say indictments are imminent. They're talking about charges that are going to take place eventually. The report is supposed to come out within the next couple of months, so I think that's pretty imminent. But let's say it's within the next year. There will almost certainly be more people charged and indicted. Kevin Clinesmith was already indicted. There are probably going to be more indictments for him and others. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. We're almost at 184,000 because of you. To my super chat. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't have $20 million in venture capital funding. To my viewers, they're so awesome. To my super thanks, I can't thank you enough. And like Roger Rabbit, everybody, Irish, thank you so very much. There's so many wonderful people in the super thanks who've been so generous in the super chat. This channel is really powered by people who are the most amazing viewers. Like, I apologize if they're, like, I cannot, on a side note, I cannot be blamed for, like, suppressing discussion on my chat when even my own words need to be suppressed. So, like, if people don't understand that I'm, like, swimming upstream, and it's not my fault. Like, this is the world we live in. There are things that, like, if people can't say exactly what they want on the comment section or the live chat, yes, I do have a banned words list, but it's like the most obscene words. The YouTube algorithm prevents people from talking about a whole bunch of things. Nonetheless, this shouldn't be an issue for anyone. And so if the blame is leveled at me, I'm not having it. Because I have to deal with it myself, and that's what's so difficult in this day and age about being a content creator. You have to walk on eggshells and watch what you say. And my mentality has always been, try your best. I try my best to be interesting, thought-provoking, amusing, while at the same time understanding that if I don't have a voice, that's not good. I won't be able to, play the long game. So that's what I'm trying to do. And I've done that pretty well. I think that the channel works pretty well. Even though there are things that I can't say, but if I want to convey my thoughts, it's through a long-winded process that is algorithmically friendly, so to speak. So I'll just leave it at that. Because like I don't understand. There's certain people who are like, "Oh, you're preventing me from speaking." It's like, dude, what do you want me to do? I can't even say what I want generally. So it's like, and I'm not gonna allow negativity, especially when I'm trying to, swim upstream and dodge these arbitrary rules that are just, they change every day. That being said, I have the most positive and wonderful audience. So, I just want to make that clear. There's been some critique where it's like, what can I do? But anyway, the concept of trust, when they said, like, when you heard the absurd phrase trust sessions, so to my super chat, thank you. When you hear the absurd phrase trust sessions, you shouldn't trust anyone. I told people never listen to message boards because that's absurd. That's ludicrous. It's a message board. You have no clue what's on the other side. 3 years ago, was telling people not to listen to that nonsense. Okay? 3 years ago, I was telling people not to listen to nonsense. And everyone got, not everyone, a small percentage of supporters of President Trump believe that nonsense, because the reason is there's such a need to address the double standard in terms of justice in our society. There's such a need for many conservatives or supporters of President Trump to say, hey, wait, this is not fair. How can you set up and frame somebody, an incoming president, and allow Hunter's emails, Clinton's top secret intelligence on private servers, which James Comey said might have been infiltrated by, foreign adversaries, all these things. You have never-Trumpers, I keep saying, you have never-Trumpers who silence the voice of the Republican Party. There's no opposition party. I keep saying that. That's why there's a double standard. So when people say, oh, nothing's ever going to happen, well, something will happen. Whether it's James Comey or Clapper or Brennan being arrested, who knows? Nobody knows. Nobody knows the future. The reality is that crimes were committed. We already know Kevin Kleinsmith committed a crime. We know that Trump did not. Trump was never charged or indicted with anything to do with Russia. He was never a Russian operative. It was completely fabricated and made up. We do know that there were already people who helped fabricate this nonsense who were indicted. Kevin Kleinsmith being the first one. We know they're being investigated now. The whole thing was a setup. It wasn't this was not the work of altruistic, impartial, apolitical actors. They're all on MSNBC and CNN. They're all on, written about in the most admirable manner in the New York Times, the Washington Post, and every other publication. Media has become an extension of the Democratic Party. Durham knows this. So hopefully he waits as long as possible. But in the article below, the report's supposed to come out in a couple of months. Who knows? But the concept of trust that I need to talk to people about is an interesting concept. When you say, thank you, Tammy, thank you. Luke St. Martin, Eric H526, thank you so very much for being amazing moderators. When people say, oh, nothing's ever going to happen, oftentimes there are a great many people who were more interested in a message board, who got really interested in a message board and were let down by a message board. Then when there's a special counsel, these are all psychological games, almost certainly created by President Trump's political adversaries. Nobody knows who started the message board. It's very likely a Democratic operative. It's so nutty and ludicrous and absurd, this message board. I was telling people from the very beginning, long before people at the Daily Beast and others were talking about how harmful it is, I was saying it's a harmful thing. Don't believe this nonsense. You can go on my website. You can see the debates. I said, the debate with Jordan Sather, I said it was complete and utter nonsense. And what happened is it took the wind out of people's sails. Because you started, there were certain people starting, not a lot of people, but certain people took it very seriously. And I said, this is harmful. Now, when you have a special counsel, people don't when you have a special counsel, people just look at it oh, nothing's ever going to happen. Well, what do you expect right now? It takes time. These people hid behind their government positions. It takes time. It doesn't mean that nothing's ever going to happen. Kevin Kleinsmith was already indicted. Do you want him to go to jail for 200 years? He falsified information to deceive FISA judges. But the entire American political establishment believes there was a reason to investigate Trump. So you have to understand, you have to take that into consideration. That's an important point. You have to take that into consideration. Half of the country either believes that Trump was investigated because the investigation was warranted, the suspicion was warranted, and that he could have worked with Russia and they needed to find out. That is complete nonsense. There was never a reason to investigate Trump. But what media did was publicize and amplify a tinfoil hat theory that was utilized by Democrats to save face. They were mortified after losing. This all comes back to cheating Bernie Sanders. They did everything possible. If you look at the DNC emails, they amplified Trump's voice. They amplified Trump's voice. They actually elevated Trump. They elevated Trump. Okay? And that's the deal. Like, they actually did all of that to themselves. When they lost, this is the intelligentsia. We have the most unintelligent intelligentsia. We have atheists who have replaced faith in God, which we'll get to in a second. It's very interesting. The concept of trust and faith and hope should be tied to something spiritual, not the government or the state. This is something that is like, I've never seen such madness in my life. And this is like the last attempt. When you corner a wild animal, that's when they're most, like vicious. This is not like, this madness, this chaos is not a perpetual thing, because the matrix is slowly unraveling. 2022 is around the corner. They know this. This is their last attempt in every facet of life, in every element of society, in every aspect of existence, to try to impose their will. And every single day, the intelligentsia, the experts, the officials, the revered custodians of our well-being, every single day they're proven wrong. Every single day they lose credibility. And every single day, more and more people begin to question why you have the biggest imbeciles in charge of our daily lives. And so this is not going to... They are not gaining in influence. They're losing influence, but they're trying to impose their will through various means. And you have John Durham, who's already indicted somebody. The article below in the description says he's going to indict more people. Pretty soon, we're going to look at this time period and say, okay, this, ladies and gentlemen, is just like when you had, ladies and gentlemen, 20 years ago, the Bush Republicans had a mandate. The Bush Republicans were able to utilize a monopoly on political thought, and they were able to impose their will upon society in many ways. Okay, culturally, to a certain extent, but in terms of legislation and in terms of foreign policy. That did not work out well for the country. It didn't work out well for the Republican Party. Okay? It was devastating. Now you have the same type of intelligentsia / expert and, revered public authorities telling the world a whole bunch of things on a whole bunch of topics. Okay? This is their moment to see how much they can impose in terms of their influence on every topic imaginable. It's not working. They need every single possible advantage. Every single possible advantage. They need every single possible advantage, from social media algorithms to almost universal thought in terms of media, late night talk show hosts, comedians, music industry, Hollywood, Twitter, social media algorithms. I said Washington Post, New York Times, MSNBC, CNN, Vanity Fair, Esquire, Rolling Stone, The Atlantic, Mother Jones, The Nation, Daily Beast, BuzzFeed. It's an entire public relations machine. Most pundits on YouTube are on the left. Or I should say, I don't know if... most. And it's still not working. It's still not working. This is a very fleeting moment in time. The country is becoming... even though I'm not conservative on every issue, it's becoming more libertarian and conservative. It's not becoming like you would think it's becoming further. It's going further to the left. In a way, it is. In a way, it is. But go look at the trajectory of left-leaning organizations. I should say, radical left-leaning organizations. They lose steam. They lose momentum. They run out of fuel. Because the ideas don't withstand the test of time. They're not entirely logical. They're based on emotion. Anita Eddy! Thank you, Anita. I hope all is well. Anita Eddy, thank you. Thank you, Anita. David, hello. Thank you, Anita. Thank you so very much. Greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated, Anita. Thank you. Thank you, Anita. Greatly appreciated. Look, go back in time. Go back in time, ladies and gentlemen. Anita and everybody here, go back in time to the average CNN segment in 2002, 2003, 2004. Okay? It would be the equivalent. Even Fox News would be more liberal now. Go back in time. The same wave of emotion that they were taking advantage of. Like, CNN is very good at, profiting off of emotion. And they weren't necessarily on the left. They were actually a lot more conservative 20 years ago. Now, they've sold their soul to the Democratic Party. But you have to understand something. Democrats are not going to have the advantage they have now. The House of Representatives is not going to be run by Paul Ryan. They say, well, Trump had the House. He had the Senate. No, he didn't. He had Richard Burr and Paul Ryan. You basically had Schumer and Pelosi. You had Republicans who despised Trump, who wanted to keep him at bay. That's not going to happen. And it's larger than Trump. And the Trump Republicans, or the Trumpism, or whatever they want to call it, is not what they think it is. It's not the nightmarish dystopian version of what Trump is all about. Trump is about economic growth. He's about to bring us out of our longest-running military conflict. If we had simply abided by the May timeline, May 1st, no matter what, you are going to have eventual chaos. There's no way. All right. Can you hear me now? Ladies and gentlemen, can you hear me now? So, at the same time, ladies and gentlemen, you have a situation where it was President Trump who single-handedly, there's no way we'd be leaving now if we didn't have 4 years of Trump. There's no way we'd be leaving. And they don't care. See, this is the thing. The liberal Democratic Party establishment and the Republican establishment, the conservatives who don't like Trump's personality, the Lincoln Project people, the Bill Kristol people, the people who were against marriage equality, the people who wanted a marriage amendment, these are the same people who were vilified, rightfully so, by the left, who are now embraced by the left. The Lincoln Project people who wanted a marriage amendment are voting for the same political party that Bernie Sanders voted for. There is no left in the United States of America anymore. It's a gigantic racket. It's a very finely tuned money-making machine. And I keep saying this is a moment in time, people. When you lose hope and faith and trust in what should happen, they've won. Which brings us to a really interesting concept. This is a philosophical and, existential type of discussion the concepts of faith and trust, you shouldn't trust anyone in government. You shouldn't give faith to anyone in government. The last time I trusted a politician was Bernie Sanders, and that didn't work out well for me or for Bernie Sanders voters or for anyone. The man is a political creature. He might be a good human being. I think he's a good human being. I mean, I think that he tries to be a good human being. I think that he's done things that aren't good. His silence is deafening. He was cheated, didn't even acknowledge that he was cheated. But the concept of trust, they say, well, experts say, these logical fallacies, appeals to authority. Experts say, who cares what experts say about anything? What does that even mean? I've never seen this in my life. I've never seen this in my life. This blind obedience and allegiance to experts, by the way, who form a consensus that the Democratic Party wants. There are experts who disagree with the consensus. Those experts are ignored. So it's not about expertise. It's not about knowledge. It's not about debate. The way Democrats and morally superior liberals work is the following. Well, Trump had X amount of accusations. Biden has Y amount of accusations. As you can see, since Trump had more allegations, therefore, the allegations against Biden shouldn't be believed. And since Trump had more allegations, his allegations should be believed. This is the Clintonian calculus they run their lives by. Well, you know, since all the experts are saying one thing about any topic, therefore, the naysayers, the critics, the skeptics, these people shouldn't be believed, because obviously if you have 1,000 smart people saying one thing and 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 or 100 smart people saying another thing, obviously, since 1,000 is more than 100, that's 10 to 1. 10 to 1. 10 smart people for every one smart person says this. So therefore, wouldn't you want to believe the 10 smart people who say, you know, whatever? This is like mindless nonsense. This is completely mindless. And you have to decide what's good for your life, but you also have to every person's life is different. Every person's needs are different. There's not a one-size-fits-all on a whole bunch of topics. But getting back to John Durham, it's like this is something that is it should be, at least in my view, interesting. You don't have to trust that. Don't trust anyone. Durham, nobody. Don't trust anyone. Ask yourself if what they're saying makes sense, if it's logical, if it's rational. You can put your faith and hope if religion, the concept of God, is a good thing to put hope or faith in for most people. If you're an atheist or agnostic, logic and reason, you should put your faith and hope in logic and reason. It is not logical, however, to replace religion with politics. So if you're an atheist that worships at the altar of the Democratic Party, you're not really an atheist. You've replaced God with Nancy Pelosi or CNN or the New York Times. Chowder, hello. I think that it's really interesting what's taking place in society is the The narcissism and the ego and the hubris and the arrogance of experts and people who have given their faith and loyalty and obedience and allegiance to the state, it's interesting what happens when they're proven wrong. They double down like a gambler in Vegas or Atlantic City. You know, if you give your faith in God, at least you can understand that, you know what? You know, you get fired from work, or you're, you break your foot, or, you lose money in stocks. But at the end of the day, one thing about religion or an appreciation as God is that you appreciate the good things you have, because you realize that you're fortunate. Now, you can have that same mentality as an atheist or agnostic. There's nothing that Christopher Hitchens said something very interesting, although, I think that he was able to be an anti-theist and moral and an atheist and a very moral human being because he was a kind person, and he didn't replace the state with, although Noam Chomsky accused him of replacing, politics, replacing God with politics. So Noam Chomsky, I think he said something along the lines of that Peter Hitchens wasn't really an atheist, or no, Christopher Hitchens, sorry, wasn't. I think maybe I'm confusing the story, but that he wasn't really an atheist, that he actually replaced religion with politics or a belief in the state. I don't know if that's 100% accurate. Like anyone, I know Christopher Hitchens was like a brilliant, heroic man. He wasn't right about everything. No one's right about everything. He made some mistakes, but I think he was a beautiful human being. But he was able to be critical, and he never worshipped sacred cows. That's a biblical reference, but he never worshipped, he never revered government institutions. He might have sided with certain politicians here and there, depending on the circumstances. But his viewpoints were based on reason and logic, and he had a very charismatic way of communicating his thoughts. He was very eloquent, and he would be viewed as an extreme right, alt, horrible person in this day and age. My God, they would have tried 10 million times to cancel him. But the reason I bring him up is that he's a rare I think that he's a rare example. And there are the occasional examples, or maybe a great many examples, of atheists or people who are agnostic who haven't replaced religion with politics, who can look at political sides, who can look at Trump and say, I don't really like Trump, but he's not that bad. I don't like Trump, but he didn't work with Russia. Those people I respect. If you don't want to believe in God, that's fine, as long as you don't replace God with religion. I mean, as long as you don't replace God with Nancy Pelosi or CNN. But I think one problem in society today is that there are so many atheists and so many people who have done away with the concept of God or faith or trust in religion, that, or anything spiritual, that their spirituality is derived from Twitter being retweeted. Their faith in themselves, or their hope in the future, or their trust in society is predicated upon a trust or a faith in government or politics or their political party of choice. This is bad. This is not good. So when you have people who just put blind trust in expert consensus or what media says, or if they're so petrified of having a friend that is a Trump supporter, these people have replaced God with politics. That's dangerous. That's harmful. That's completely irrational and illogical. The concept of God, I think, is a great thing. It's a beautiful thing. Now, there are a lot of problems or dilemmas or logical dilemmas associated with that, but I think there are more dilemmas associated with just blindly trusting politicians. Again, it doesn't matter what your religion is. Whether you're Hindu, Muslim, Jewish, Christian, it doesn't matter what your religion is. If you can look at the world from the vantage point of there's something infinitely greater than CNN or Twitter or Donald Trump or Nancy Pelosi or Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden or condemnation from your liberal friends or conservative friends. If you can look at the world and say, okay, I know what logic and reason is, and I can see hysteria and paranoia and irrational behavior, and it doesn't matter who is acting in the most absurd manner. It could be a conservative or it could be a liberal. If I can decipher what is logical and what is illogical, and what is rational and irrational, and what is good and bad, I'm not going to simply disown a friend because of politics, because of a warped, distorted view of morality. Because one concept, theological concept, is you can't throw stone. If you have a glass house, don't throw stones. So you cannot judge Trump when your political side is in many ways infinitely more immoral, illogical, irrational. You can't say that he worked with Russia for 5 years and then come up empty-handed. You can't say that he caused January and not indict him. What you're doing is just perpetuating a myth. Like, if you believe in myths, political myths, that's infinitely worse. If you're this, enlightened atheist, and you believe that Trump, he lies more than any other person, than any other president, you must not know much about U.S. history. You must be completely ignorant about U.S. history and politics and the Clintons and Pelosi or Biden or, if you can't delineate between who Trump is, if you can't draw a line between who Donald Trump is as a human being and how the media has tried to tear him down, you're completely naive and you're very likely a gullible person, even though you might say, oh, well, I'm this rational individual, I'm this atheist, or I'm God-fearing, but I can't stand Trump. He lies more than everyone else. He's not held. Other politicians have never been held to the standard that Trump has been held to. Other politicians haven't had to deal with a 24/7 concerted effort to tear down a presidency. That's never happened before in American history. It's unprecedented. And it's become a religion. Disliking Trump, spewing contempt and disdain and venom towards Trump is like a religious practice for people. It's become a spiritual, religious, type of endeavor. They derive self-worth. There are people who derive self-worth from disliking Trump. It's like it's not just unhealthy anymore. It's an actual like belief system. It's like a religion. It's like a polytheistic religion. The gods are CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, Washington Post, expert consensus, and social acceptance and conformity. That's how you worship. And getting retweeted, these are like little like rituals, social media rituals. And these are the same people who have their biases and their irrational beliefs reinforced every single day. When they turn on the TV, they watch Stephen Colbert. At night, before they go to bed, Jimmy Kimmel. And then in the day, they watch CNN. And then in the morning, they read the New York Times. And then, their favorite band kicks out a guitarist for, God forbid, the blasphemy of complimenting a conservative journalist. Major League Baseball moves its All-Star game. So you have every element of society parroting or trying to reinforce Democratic Party talking points, and still half the country, and now it's probably more than half the country, realizes that the political side with every conceivable advantage, every advantage possible, is losing ground. That's why they're becoming more vicious. That's why they're becoming more apoplectic. That's why you're seeing things you never imagined. Yeah, but justice never. This is the thing. You're not going to get justice if Mitt Romney and and Adam Kinzinger and Cheney are in the Republican Party. That's the issue. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's what I'm trying. When you buy a mutual fund, you get past performance is not an indication of future performance. I forget exactly the phrase. You're not going to get the same Republican Party you did. Thank you, Cleopatra Anu. Thank you. You're not going to get the same Republican Party you did. The Republicans under Paul Ryan are different than Kevin McCarthy, and I like Kevin McCarthy, but it'd be better if you had Jim Jordan. It'd be better if you had Devin Nunes. You need the equivalent. Like you can't in football. So in football, high school football was like amazing, like the best experience I ever had. The football team was a small team. We didn't do much, but it was fun. It was more than fun. It was like one of the best experiences I ever had in my life. Still dream about it to this day. But if you are like doing a tackling drill and you have two people, where there's a ball carrier and there's a tackler, and the tackler is going full speed, but you're carrying the ball and you're not really going full speed, you're going to get leveled, okay? The Republican Party gets leveled all the time because they don't go full speed. They never give it their all. They never give it full effort. They get steamrolled. And if they actually went full speed, you would get a collision where it's two equal forces, or it would be Bo Jackson versus Brian Bosworth, and the Republican Party could be Bo Jackson. It just depends on, the issue or the topic. Right now, Trump Republicans are on the right side of history. I've heard this nonsense. You're on the wrong side of history. Like, no, you tell me a time when intelligence agencies were on the right side of history. You tell me a time. Give me a time period, oh wise one. I've heard this before from people who know nothing about politics or history. You're on the wrong side of history. Like, well, okay, you're on the side where John Brennan and Comey and Clapper. Tell me the time when J. Edgar Hoover And Alan Dulles. Tell me a time when Alan Dulles was on the side of morality. Okay? Or J. Edgar Hoover. Sometimes they were right. I guess you could say, sure, sometimes they were right. But they're the time. Generally, they engaged in, let's just say, questionable practices would be a nice term. And you can look, more often than not, they were on the wrong side of history. From the civil rights movement to the Cold War, they were on the wrong side of history. So you tell me, if Trump is opposing these wonderful intelligence agencies, and Trump is opposing the Lincoln Project, the Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld people, who we already know were on the wrong side of history. We already know. You have liberals retweeting Bill Kristol, and he's been on the wrong side of history on every issue, on social issues and foreign policy. It's unbelievable. But again, the concept of hypocrisy, they don't even know what that even means. But you look, it's like, these people are perpetually wrong. They're failures at like everything. But they derive strength from now from just opposing Trump, which is why it could be that DeSantis might need to be. I hope Trump runs. I hope he runs. But he needs to go on this completely he needs to have this. He needs to revamp his image. He needs some way to revamp his image. I know that sounds bizarre. And I know the left is not going to care anyway. They're going to despise him. Yes, I get that. But there needs to be a way, because right now he's in, Hillary and Bill Clinton territory, where the mere mention of the name generates political momentum for the opposing side. So I just think that, if you look, you look at what's taking place, when you don't have a political side going to bat for you, so there's no Republican Party that goes to bat for anybody. There are Republicans like the Kentucky senator, who's awesome, and Devin Nunes and Jim Jordan and others who go to bat, but they don't have they don't have Mitch McConnell. Don't talk about that. Come on now. They don't really, there's no political side. So Democrats are tackling Republicans and continually leveling them because they don't run into the tackle or, utilize the same force. And so they get pummeled. You need two opposing sides going at it with the same force and intensity, or hopefully your political side will, utilize more energy and intensity. But see, that's not happening. So you have one party rule, this dogma, this hilarious, amusing dogma where they'll say something one week, then the next week they'll be wrong, and they'll revise it. Then the fact-checking organizations will then say, well, it's true, but, which is not a fact check, it's a rebuttal. We rate is not a fact check. Fact checks are pretty easy. Who won the Yankees won the 1955 World Series. No, they didn't. The Brooklyn Dodgers did. End of story. That's a fact check. That's it. Have a nice night. 3 Pinocchios. 4.5 Pinocchios, 3.65 Pinocchios. We rated 7.652 Pinocchios. That's not how a fact check works. You've offered a rebuttal, and you've judged Trump by his hyperbolic statements, and you've ignored the hyperbole from your own side. Always. So. But see, that's the thing. It's like there's this logic and reason. It's like a thing of the past now. You just have conformity. Like I keep saying, look, why are bands like the Misfits so amazing? Why is Alice Cooper so awesome? Why is Eazy-E so amazing? One of the great rappers of all time. Why are these musical artists, could they make it in this world? No. Why was Sam Kinison so great? Why was old Howard Stern great? Old Howard Stern, not this Howard Stern. Old Howard. He wouldn't have made it today. He would not have made it today. You look at Arnold. Arnold would not, first of all, he would not have complied with anything today because his dream of becoming the best bodybuilder of all time would have overshadowed anything society was telling him, which it did. He left his military base in Austria to compete at night in a bodybuilding competition in Germany. He didn't care what authority told him. Now he reveres authority. It's like, this is like a complete Roger Rabbit. You are awesome, Roger Rabbit. I can't thank you enough for all your kind words. A journalistic beast is what you've become. I could not be more proud to bring people to your channel and proclaim my support for you, Goodman. The world needs to hear you. Thank you so very, very, very much, Roger Rabbit. You are so kind, so wonderful, and you're just awesome. It's, ladies and gentlemen, the kind words mean a lot to me. The kind words mean a lot to me. And Roger Rabbit, I can't thank you enough. I can't thank you enough. It really means a lot, and I know that like every person on YouTube, it means a great deal to them, you know. And honestly, like I'm lucky because 98% of the people on the channel are always positive. You know, sometimes, look, very rarely, I'll have to, ignore certain negative statements. But other than that, but even the people who make negative statements generally make positive statements on the channel. So it's like, if I have to, kick a person off the live stream or whatever, that doesn't mean that, it's just I thank them for their positive statements, but some things that are not my fault, But Roger Rabbit, you are awesome. You are absolutely awesome, and I can't thank you enough. I can't thank you enough. Roger Rabbit, thank you so very much. I just think that, Sam, thank you. David, hello. I just think that you look at where is the emphasis on individuality and being unique, and it's okay. Generally, it was always okay if it was funny or a song that was powerful. Okay to offend a little bit. Don Rickles and Sam Kinison offended people. They were hilarious, though. They were legendary comedians. You look at all this is like it's almost like we live in a world now where who's going to look back at this time period and say, "Oh, I remember this musician. He was fantastic, or she was fantastic." I mean, you're going to have people, obviously, that look back and say, "Okay, their favorite musicians." They will look back, yes, but I'm saying like, you can look. The entire country loves the Beatles, okay, or the entire country can look back and love, James Brown, or, Little Richard, who was amazing. I mean, these are artists from 50, 60 years ago. Tell me an artist, Michael Jackson, will always be loved. Always be loved. Robin Williams will always, comedians. Who today will be admired and loved 60 years ago the way they are today? 60 years from now? Please tell me. I want to know. Maybe there's 1 or 2, 3 people, 4 people. I don't know. You can look, and the people who made it, the people who were unique, whether it's Lucille Ball or Roseanne Barr, or you look at people who are unique. You can't say that in this day and age. Everyone is a conformist. Everyone just conforms to, like, everyone worries about. Everyone just worries about what others think of them. It's so pathetic. It's so sad. That's why I saw the groupthink, the tribalism on the left. I remember you're not going to not vote for Clinton, are you? Because that will help Trump. Like, yeah, well, so what? He cheated Bernie. Why should I? What? You literally cheated your own candidate, and you said it was a primary. What's wrong with you? I was like, no, I'm not. You would do what? You would do what? You would vote for. You wouldn't vote for Clinton, but that's going to help Trump. Like you can look like there's 80s music, there's 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. You could say there's early 2000s music. You could say there's even 2010s, like music from around 2010. Is there any music of today is there any genre, or is there anything that exemplifies or personifies, or that you could say will be nostalgic? We are living in an era where nostalgia has ceased to exist. Or we're living in an era where the future will not find nostalgic, or where we won't find this era nostalgic in the future. Where? Oh, I remember. Oh, so great. Honestly, grandkids, I remember when we shut down all of American life. Yeah, it was great. We couldn't do anything. We were in our basements, and it was fantastic. Yeah, we got stimulus checks. It was so fun. It was so great. And there was a guy who talked like this, and he was so fantastic. He was so wonderful, and he was amazing. He was such a personification of empathy and love. Sweet love. No, you're not going to look back at this. No one will look back at this time. We will look back at this time and say, thank God for our families. Yes, the best times in your life are happening now with your kids and your families and your lives and your loved ones and your boyfriend and your girlfriend and your wife and your husband and your kids and your family and your artwork and your poetry and everything, Irma, hello. Shane B. You are easy to support because we know how much you appreciate it. Thank you for consistently delivering logic, reason, and critical thinking. Shane, thank you so very much, Shane, for the kind words. Thank you, Shane. Thank you so very much. Shane B, thank you as always for the kind words and for always watching. It means a great deal to me, Shane. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's really important as a content creator to have awesome, amazing people watch your show. And Shane, thank you so much. It means a great deal to me. And I think that, Shane and everybody here, I think that we all remember a time. Well, actually, the dystopia nightmare hellscape began in 2016. So, honestly, you could actually be in your late 20s, or you could even be 19, 17, 19. You could, let's say you were 15 or 14, so you remember growing up before 2016. Everything changed. We went into the Twilight Zone is too nice. We're in the toilet zone now. We were entering the toilet zone. Okay? Shane, thank you again. We have entered 2016. I don't buy documentaries, books, anything after 2016. Just to let you know, if there's like an old record store near you, buy up the old Star Wars movies, E.T., Indiana Jones, because the dystopian nightmare world we live in, they've all deleted scenes. I'm telling you, it's Orwellian. The world is like, they've tried to like erase. Thank God they haven't like taken Sam Kinison or Don Rickles out of the equation, or old Eddie Murphy, or, well, I love Eddie Murphy. Any era of Eddie Murphy's fantastic. But Delirious and Raw, the people who love to cancel, they couldn't handle it. You can't, you like Blazing Saddles, Airplane, you couldn't, basically Mel Brooks. I love Mel Brooks. He couldn't survive today. Everything good, this world, this society we live in now, has eaten it up, like, has swallowed it like this blob of moral indignation. Irma, thank you. Pete Solano, hello. Thank you so very much. G-Man, hello. Shane, thank you again. Yeah, I mean, we'll go maybe like 5, 6, 7 more minutes more. And here's another thing also. I've had hit pieces written on me by people I don't respect. So why? This is the thing, like when my writing was going viral in the Hill, the Huffington Post, Salon, and then, I got the hit pieces. Then I supported Trump, and then, like, Raw Story wrote a hit piece. You see what Bernie Sanders' populist movement has led to? A Trump supporter. He's a Trump supporter now. He's at the range holding a firearm. You see? It's like, how? Okay, what is your point? What is your point? And then they're like, a blogger, not journalist, just to let you know. Like, well, every one of my articles went through editors, so whatever. You can try to disparage me all you like. You're actually dissing the editors, so, and the publications. You don't need, when they try, I think it was Voltaire who said, you diss me, you diss yourself. So you're actually disrespecting a whole lot of people when you try to go after me. But this concept, like when The Atlantic runs a hit piece on it, just let you know, this person's really bad. Well, that means he's probably good. I told of this story. Like I had one of the most amazing professors of all time, who's like a world-renowned scholar. When I was at USC, the advisor, would help you with courses. Sometimes you go to an advisor. Said, "Oh, don't go to this person. He's really he's renowned and he's well known, but he's really disorganized." I was like, "I'm gonna, because you said that, I will do that." What was it that you said? What was it you said? You said don't do it. I'm gonna do it. Anything, I'll do the opposite. Anything opposite of you, because something you just know to do the opposite. So, and who is the best, most amazing professor. So why would I care what people think? Why would I care? The people out there who are like, don't listen to that person. Don't listen to that person. He's real bad. He's bad. You shouldn't listen. Those people those are the people you shouldn't listen to. Those are the people you shouldn't listen to. You should listen to the people that they don't want you to listen to. Or I should say, you should enjoy what they have to say and judge for yourself. There's no concept. Trust is earned. My God almighty. Trust is earned. You don't trust somebody blindly. Trust is earned, even in your own relationship with your wife or your husband. Trust is earned. If a husband comes home, lipstick on his collar, and the wife says, "What did you do?" He doesn't say, "Excuse me." Do you know that all expert consensus says that there's nothing to worry about? I don't care about expert consensus. Expert consensus says the lipstick on my collar is just fine. Did you see the Reuters fact check? Did you see the Washington Post? We rate for Pinocchios the lipstick on the collar, fact check, that there was nothing to worry about. See, honey, you owe me an apology. It doesn't work that way. Life doesn't work that way. Life doesn't work that way. Like I said, you can't go into. Life doesn't work that way. Trust is earned. Trust is earned. Paul. Trust is earned. You don't this nonsense of like you need to trust. What is that nonsense about? What is this absurd nonsense about? You trust, consensus, trust, experts, trust, experts, authorities, trust, consensus. What do I care? If something's logical and rational, then it makes sense. If there's and a risk benefit, this is another. A person's risk benefit analysis is personal. Everyone has a different risk benefit analysis. Okay? I'll leave it at that. When you cross the street, you have to look both ways. Okay? You don't just run into the street and say, the experts say it's okay. You have to, everyone's life is different. I can't tell a woman what to do. I can't tell another man what to do. I can't tell what anybody to do anything. Because I feel the percentages will work out in their favor. That is not for me to say. That is not for me to say. I'll leave it at that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. To my super chat, thank you so much. God bless everybody here. Thank you. And I will be back tomorrow. Checked out the upload, probably about 5. I'll probably do an upload tomorrow early, like about 4:30 or 5 in the morning. And getting back to Durham, something good will happen soon, I believe. I believe Durham will do something good. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Eric, Luke, thank you so very much. Have a beautiful, beautiful evening. Thanks, everybody. Oh, by the way, I'll be starting an Odyssey channel soon, too. So I'm going to build that one up. We'll see how that goes. I think it's going to be awesome.